13 of Project PAHOOT. Probably quite short episode, bit of a bitzer of an episode. No big major things have happened. I've not had the sump back for the engine yet, so none of the engine is in, but there's a few little things that have happened in it, and it might look a bit different because I'm having to edit this on my phone rather than my PC, which has decided it's not going to work anymore. So just keep your eyes out, look for the little things that happened, and well, there we go. Business as usual. Okay, so I've sent the sump away to be modified. So at the moment I'm kind of at a loss as to do anything with the engine, because I want to put the engine all together. One, so it's sealed up, and two, so I can then start looking at how to fit it properly into the chassis, where the gearbox goes. But I need the engine complete so I can put the gearbox onto it, or start working out how the gearbox goes onto it. Then I need to work out a height of where the engine is going in the chassis, but for that I need the gearbox to be in place, because the gearbox can only go so low down because there's a little brace in the chassis that the prop shaft must clear. And the other determining factor of that as well is the rear axle will have to be at a certain height. So I need an axle as well. So for the time being, I'm doing some interior stuff. I'm going to try and fashion one single working, functional, non-broken dashboard out of what's basically 1 3/4 pieces. This one is, it's mostly there. There's a few sort of chunks missing off corners and that, which I can rebuild or borrow off this one. But it's all very flimsy, very brittle. This will want rebuilding here, but I can use this, little pieces of this here, and also lots of fiberglass. You can buy new ones of these, I think for about 150 quid or so, made out of fiberglass in black or brown, but they're gloss. You can have them matte, but I'm trying to avoid spending as much as possible, so I'm going to pull all these old bits of wire out, and I'm looking at a set of dials, a 6 dial set I believe, so we'll end up being a dial short here, but I may end up having to sort of blank all this off and starting again. I'll probably do that. I'll probably just put a plate of stainless or something in there, but I'm going to rip all these bits out and see where we're up to. Oh, there you go. This is where I'm up to with the dashboard. All I've done, it's temporary, it's hanging up because, excuse me, it's a nice easy place to put it to let it dry off. But what I've done, I've gorilla glued up some broken bits here. So what the idea being is when all these bits dry off, or when the glue sets, I can then, without falling over, I can then sand all that off, because I've got my foot stuck. Because I'm probably going to coat this dash, maybe flock it or do a different colours. I'm thinking of doing some two-tone on the interior rather than having it all tan like it was before and looking like an explosion in a chocolate factory. I'm thinking keeping the dash black, so all of that black all across the front here, and then maybe start splitting into the brown here, because the centre console that comes along here is going to be brown as well. Or I may even do the centre console black yet, because I've got to repair that. I've got to dig that out and repair that as well. But rather than having a sea of brown, I think have tan seats, top of the dashboard tan, and then black carpets, black bits of dash. I've still got the tan door cards. I think it'll be a nice little, a nice bit of contrast, and it also means that I can paint that when it's repaired. I can fill in any little imperfections, and I can just spray it, maybe flock it, clock it black, and then, like I think I said before, I'm going to make a panel in the main section that covers where the current dials are, or I may even cut it out and then make a panel that goes behind, and I can put the new dials in, because these two here, they're air vents, and then you've got 7 dials there. So you've got revs, speedo, fuel, water, oil pressure, a clock, and something else. I don't know what the third one is. Volts. But I think the kit that I've got saved doesn't have a clock, but I'm sure I can put a clock in there as well. It may well be that they're 50mm dials like that, 100s for the big ones and 50s for the others, in which case they'll all fit, but I won't know until I get them, or until I've sold all the old dials to pay for them. So now I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave that to dry, then repair this little bit here around the steering wheel by cutting a chunk off the other piece, which is, it's the only salvageable bit of this really, is this section here. So I'll probably just chop a chunk of this. We just calm Rab Alfred down a minute, and then there's this piece as well, which is a little cap that goes on, which probably won't end up fitting anyway, because the steering column is going to be different. It's going to be a coarser steering column on this, power steering column. So we'll see how that goes, but I'll dig the centre console out and do the same thing. I'll repair that, and then at some point when the brakes are actually fully working on the telehandler, I'll get the body down and start chopping bits out of that as well, because that's going to be a necessary evil, because I don't know how long it's going to be until I get the sump back. I have told them not to rush, maybe so I can get some money together to pay for it. And after that I literally do have to get on to doing the gearbox. I've got to put my big boy pants on and start cutting that bell housing up. I've hopefully got an old damaged clutch coming my way. There's a chap I know who's doing a clutch on a 120 or a 123D. So I said, when you take the clutch off it, just give me the pressure plate and the drive plate, so I've got something of a datum. I've got a basis I can work from for distances, and then I can start working out where I'm cutting stuff. But I've just got to wait for the nod off him. So I'll crack on with doing the centre console for the time being. It's good to be doing something that isn't an engine for a change. So changes are afoot. We notice that the chassis is not there. Got my nice little pointer here, and the body is not there. That's because I'm having a bit of a swap around. Well, I can't do much to the body, can't do much to the chassis. I'm going to have a bit of a swap around and put the chassis up on top of there. The chassis here, just sort of working out how much I'm going to have to cut off here for the BMW axle that I very nearly got hold of. I'm just waiting for someone to give me an answer back on. A full E39 540i rear axle, so it's out of a V8 5 Series and it's a manual, so the diff is exactly the right final drive ratio. I think it's 2.93 to 1, which is what this engine in there would have had in the first place. So I'm going to pause on the chassis for a bit, as I think I've already said. I've been doing a bit to the body, so it's a wee bit dusty, but I've got side windows out. They need new seals, they're a little bit grotty, but they came out reasonably easy, and they're still reasonably supple. But one of them, I think it's the driver's side window, yeah, it's a bit cracked here at the back. That one's spinning off, so I've been emptying the boot out. I've got all the wiring out the back, all the light wiring, obviously windows out, and I've been making a start clearing bits out of here, bits of wiring that aren't needed, so all the bits inside the dashboard, taking apart from the speedo, which I've got to disconnect the trip reset, which is here, which is a right pain in the arse for some reason, and the oil pressure sensor. But all the plugs and switches are disconnected, and once these two are out, I can look at taking the dashboard out get this out, get the centre console out, get the seats out. The roof lining is absolutely shagged, so that's got to go. It's all got to come out anyway. And then it's just a case of, now it's down on the deck, or will be down on the deck, I can finish getting the rest of this wiring out of there and all that. Take all the other mechanical bits off, take off the bits of the heating and ventilation system, and then look at how much of this I've got to cut out. Up to about, I think a significant chunk of this is going to have to come out there, so that vin's going to have to be replaced, and all this. I'll have to look at a different setup for me brake reservoirs and stuff, but plenty of room here, so I think it'll be alright. Definitely got enough width here for, with this bit here, got enough width for an engine, but I think a big chunk of this is going to have to come out, and the steering column is going to be an issue, I think, especially once the engine is in and the exhaust manifold is on that side of the engine, but that's a job I'll do when I get to it. But up to now, everything's coming out alright. Good thing is you can buy all these seals quite cheaply online, so all them are going to get replaced. And there's a few little thoughts as well. At the back here, where the old number plate recess was, put that back on. I'm thinking about smoothing this off, putting that behind putting a number plate on here, probably lit around the outside or backlit, and having it flip down so you can access the thing, and then have all this smooth. But I'm just sort of thinking outside the box here at the moment. I'm thinking about bodywork stuff before I really need to. I need to get the mechanical stuff done, but it's progressed a little bit. I'm still waiting for the sump to come back, and then I can crack on with the gearbox. And as soon as this guy gets back to me about the rear end that I'm after, if I can go and grab that, then I can make a start on properly messing around with this. There's going to be I think just from seeing what a 5 Series axle looks like, there's going to be, specifically around it, I think this section here is going to need to be altered significantly. From here backwards doesn't really matter, this will all go, but I'm just working out now the height of where the original axle sat, you know, in relation to here, in relation to this chassis member here, so I know exactly where the centre of the new axle is going to have to be, because I'm going to bring it up 40mm to lower the car 40mm, so I don't have to put any lowering springs on it, because it was too high anyway, and then I'll just do something at the front with coilovers. But that all depends on me getting this rear end, which hopefully will happen soon. But it's the old Facebook Marketplace thing, waiting for someone to stop ignoring your messages. So we'll see where we end up. Well, we have new bits. I've sold the old axle, the old 4HA live axle, and I've bought a replacement, which is this thing out here. Got my little pointer. That, I think it's where there's no shadows. That right there is the full rear end of a 2014 F20 BMW 120i M Sport, because it's got the blue calipers and the stiffer springs and the uprated shocks. It cost me a grand total of £120. But the crucial thing is, it gives me everything I've got. I've got my diff, I've got shafts, I've got the frame, I've got all the links and arms, I've got the knuckles uprights, I've got the discs, which are a bit scrappy but they'll probably clean up. Pads with plenty of meat on. So I've got disc brakes now. I've got toe adjustment here. and as soon as I find out what the ratio of the diff is, I'll work out whether I need to change it or not. But for now, I've got to try and make that fit somehow, because that is about 110mm wider than the full car. So that's before I put wheels on, so it'll be probably a little bit more afterwards. The wheels are offset, so they will come in a bit, so I'm going to have to put arch extensions on, which I'm going to do anyway. But then the fun bit is I've got to make it fit that, so I'll go around there without the shadow. So all this lot here is going to have to go, but that's only support for this bit which holds the rear bodywork anyway. So I'm going to see if I can extend these outwards to house either these, or take these out and use the original Scimitar coilovers, because you can't buy coilovers for this axle. You can buy a coilover set for a 1 series which gives you coilovers at the front, it gives you a different damper and a spring with an adjustable cup on it, which is no use to me, because I could try and reuse these and the springs, but I'm going to have to fabricate a cup somewhere up here, because the body is the upper cup on the 1 series. So now, unfortunately I don't have a grinder with me, so I can't cut any of this lot off at the moment, but I'm not going to be too hasty cutting stuff. I'm just going to lift this up and sort of lower it down kind of over that, see where I'm working, because I know I have a height from here of what the original axle sat at. I think it's somewhere around about here, the top of the axle, and I want to go a little bit lower anyway, because the car was quite high. So once I've cut all this lot out here, I can work out the height of my diff. Height my diff needs to be, and then when I know where the height of my diff is, I know where my gearbox can sit, where my engine can sit, so everything kind of works into one. So I'm going to lift this up in a second, put it over the back end, sort of see roughly where it's going to sit, and then I can look at what I need to cut off here. They're going, because they don't need these trailing arm brackets. I'll probably plasma cut them off, and maybe just, and then sort of work out where I'm going to need to fabricate mounts for, like somewhere here and there, which I'll use this. I'll come off this box section with box section, triangulate it, and put some crush tubes in to bolt through into. But that's a long way off yet. I just want to see what it looks like. And get an idea of where I'm going to put it height wise. I'm also going to weigh this as well, because it is heavy, but it is 100% got everything on it that I need. I suspect it's probably going to be heavier than the old axle, which was 89 kilos, but that was 89 kilos just the axle. That didn't have any, it had the drums on, but didn't have any shoes or anything in. Obviously no springs, dampers or anything like that. So let's have a look. I'm going to lift this up now, try it over it, weigh that, and then see where we go. So there's going to be significant cutting needed, which I already knew, but I've got it. I mean, this is off-road mode. Look at how low down the pinion is, like right down there, but it's kind of roughly central where it needs to be here. So around this area here, we're going to have to cut a significant chunk of this out. I think probably up around about this kind of height here. So whether I end up curving up there or scalloping out to go over this, over the roll bar and this part here, obviously all that's going to go anyway. None of this is structural to the chassis. If you look at where these dampers end up and where the original damper mounts are, we're going to have to. In fact, no, I'm actually going to. This is going to go back. Looking at where the shaft is there, down there. Why am I doing that? Get my pointer. Where that shaft is there, it needs to be about here. So we can probably come back another 70 mil, and that will reduce the amount of cutting we need to take out here. But obviously, anything I take out, I'm going to put back in its strength. So I think what I'll have to do for the time being is just weld a brace in from here down to here, just to triangulate it so this lot doesn't collapse when I cut. We'll take that out, and we'll take a big chunk of that out. I'm concerned that I can't triangulate across here because the body is scalloped to sit on that, so I need to go and look inside the body. This is all part of the back seat, so I might not be able to. I mean, obviously I can always cut a chunk out of the body there. That's quite easy. I can cut a chunk out, but it's how it will affect the back seat. I want to make sure I've still got the back seat really. Don't want it to be a two-seater, but you know, it may end up happening. So I've got a vague idea, and then obviously once this is in place, you can see my bloody shadow, ridiculous, stupid summer. Yeah, so there'll be, for these mounting points, they'll be triangulated into here, because all this here is dead space in the regular car, where the trailing arms used to be, so I can triangulate something off here quite easily. Same that side, and then here we're going to have to form something down from here, like a triangle of some kind, and then brace all this up, because this is just a bit of flimsy, you know, folded iron basically. But I was on about boxing that up a bit tighter anyway, maybe bracing across here, putting a bit of strength in. Yeah, once I've got this, I can come down from that, make a plate here, like a thick plate, some 10 mil or something, or some box section. I'm going to make it up as I go along basically. And now I've got a vague idea. I can plan things, I can draw a few things up. As good as my drawing actually is, but yeah, I think it's going to work. I mean, you can make anything fit anything. It's not beyond the wit of man. It's not huge. It's not like I'm putting the back end of an Audi R8 in it. It's about 3 miles wide, but it is a surprise how much wider it is than the original car. 110 mil is quite a bit. But I'll get this chassis moved out of the way now, and I'll get this back end weighed and see what I'm dealing with. I'm thinking 120 kilos, but we'll see. We'll see if it proves me wrong in a minute. So looking at the body underneath here, that bit that I was pointing to on the chassis is here. So that is exactly where the rear seat mounts down there. So if I cut a chunk of that out, this seat is not going to fit anymore. So I think that idea is off the table unless I absolutely have to. But there's a chance I'm probably going to have to cut a fair piece of this out anyway here, or at least reshape it to fit that the forward part of the subframe. These boxes here at the back, they're going to have to go, I think, but they're only little boxes for. I was hoping to keep one of them to put the battery in, but they're only storage anyway, so they are of zero consequence if they go. But this is what happens when you try and put bits into a car that aren't supposed to be there. It's all fun and games, isn't it? Well, that is not a bad guess. 126 kilos, so it's a good 30 odd kilos heavier than the 4HA, but it has got everything on it, so we'll see what that's going to do to overall weight. But I suspect the car will probably be around about the same weight when it's done. It's got a lighter engine, a lighter gearbox, and yeah, but there you go, I was right.